The stars stretched endlessly above Commander Jason Kane's ship, glittering like diamonds scattered across black velvet. Humanity's first official mission to the Elorian Empire was not just a diplomatic gesture, it was a test. Jason, the strongest warrior of Earth, felt the weight of that responsibility press against his chest as he guided the ship through the alien atmosphere. The Elorians were legendary for their beauty, intelligence, and power. Many humans believed them untouchable, and perhaps they were right. But Jason had never been one to step back from a challenge. The Elorian capital unfolded beneath him like a dream. Towers of crystal shimmered in the light of two suns, reflecting colors that had no name in any human language. Floating gardens hovered between spires filled with luminous flowers that pulsed with life. He had trained for battles on distant worlds, for deadly missions and impossible odds. But nothing could prepare him for this. A city that seemed to breathe, alive with elegance and power. The Grand Palace, at the heart of the city, towered above everything. Its walls were carved from living crystal, glowing faintly with a soft inner light. Jason felt a strange mix of awe and unease as he stepped onto the landing platform. Every step echoed against the marble floor, and the air was filled with a sweet alien fragrance that made his senses sharp. He was not just a visitor, he was the representative of humanity, and every eye in the palace would be on him. From the shadows of a massive crystal archway she appeared. Princess Liara moved like liquid gold, her hair cascading in waves that shimmered as if each strand held sunlight. Her eyes were molten, brilliant with intelligence and mischief, and they settled on Jason with a piercing curiosity. The humans had sent their strongest warrior, and she intended to see if he was worthy or merely fragile. "You are far from home, human," Liara said, her voice light, almost teasing but edged with authority. "Do you think you belong among us?" Jason met her gaze steadily. There was no fear in him, no hesitation. "I am not here to belong. I am here to protect my people and to ensure peace between our worlds." Liara laughed, a sound like crystal chimes in the wind, beautiful yet cruel. "Protect? From whom? From us?" Her golden eyes danced with amusement. "Your people are tiny and weak. You fight with swords and guns, but we wield power beyond your imagination." Jason did not flinch. He had faced enemies far more terrifying than this alien princess, and he had never backed down. "Strength is not measured by weapons or size," he said calmly. "It is measured by courage, by heart, and by the willingness to face the impossible." The princess tilted her head, intrigued. Few humans spoke like that. Even fewer dared to meet her eyes with such resolve. Most would cower or stumble over their words. But Jason stood firm, a pillar of calm in the storm of her scrutiny. "You will amuse me," Liara said at last, a smile curling at the edges of her lips. "Perhaps you will even teach me something." She turned gracefully and walked away, leaving Jason in the glowing corridor, the echo of her laughter lingering in the air. He followed, silent and steady. He could feel the eyes of the palace guards and nobles on him, judging, curious, wary. But Jason's mind was focused on one thing: understanding this world, and proving that a human, simple, fragile, and small in the eyes of the galaxy, could endure where others might fall. As the palace doors closed behind them, Jason felt the first stirrings of something he had never expected. The princess, so proud and untouchable, was already testing him, and he welcomed the challenge. For if he could withstand the scrutiny of Liara, perhaps humanity could find its place among the stars, not as weaklings, but as equals. The crystal wall shimmered around him, reflecting his determined expression. This was only the beginning. The games of wit, strength, and courage had begun, and Jason Kane, human warrior, was ready. Days passed in the Elorian palace, each more dazzling and unnerving than the last. Jason moved through corridors of glowing crystal, his senses alert to every sound, every movement. But it was Princess Liara who truly commanded his attention. She appeared in unexpected places, always with that mischievous glint in her golden eyes, always ready to test him. "You humans are strange," she said one morning, leaning lazily against a floating crystal pillar. Her voice was soft, almost teasing, but every word carried a subtle challenge. "You think strength comes from muscle and steel, but strength, true strength, comes from wit, speed, and cunning. Let us see if you have any of it." Jason simply nodded. "I will try, Princess. But remember, endurance is also strength." That day, Liara led him on a chase through the palace gardens, a maze of floating walkways and luminous flora. The plants glowed softly as he moved past them, their petals brushing against his armor. He could hear her laughter echoing in the air, playful yet sharp like a blade. She set traps, some simple, some intricate, designed to catch even an Aelorian off guard. Laser fields that sparked like liquid fire, shifting platforms that threatened to throw him into the crystal depths below. And yet Jason met each challenge with calm precision. He leapt over gaps, disarmed traps, and used the palace itself to his advantage. He was no ordinary human. He was a warrior honed by countless battles. Liara watched him closely, her amusement growing into something else, something she did not recognize in herself. For centuries she had ruled her world with pride and skill. No one, not even the fiercest Aelorian soldier, had moved through her palace with such poise and determination. And now a human, fragile, small, and yet unyielding, was doing it. "You fight well," she said finally, a note of surprise in her voice. "Better than I expected. You are not like the others." Jason bowed his head slightly, respectful yet unbroken. "I am here to prove my people's worth, not to please you. But thank you, Princess." She tilted her head, her golden hair falling like liquid sunlight around her shoulders. "Worth? You speak of worth? And what do you think of my worth, human? Do you see me as your enemy? Your challenge? Or something else?" Jason met her gaze steadily. "I see a princess who is strong, clever, and fearless. I do not fear her, and I do not underestimate her. That is what I see." The words hung in the air, heavier than any weapon. Liara felt her chest tighten, a flutter of emotion she did not understand. For the first time in centuries, someone had looked at her not with fear, not with awe, but with genuine respect. And it unsettled her, stirred something deep inside that she had long ignored. Days turned into nights, and their interactions became a game, a dance of challenge and response, wit and strength. She tested him with puzzles, ambushed him in the palace corridors, and teased him relentlessly. And yet every time he met her challenge, she felt a thrill, a spark of admiration she could not deny. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon and cast long, fiery shadows across the crystal gardens, Liara stood before him, her expression unreadable. "You are stronger than I imagined," she said softly, "and more persistent. Most humans would have given up long ago." Jason's response was quiet, sincere. "Humans endure. We fall, we rise, and we continue. That is who we are." For a moment the palace seemed to disappear, leaving only the two of them, the glow of crystal surrounding them like a private world. Liara's golden eyes searched his, and for the first time she wondered if this human could truly be her equal. Not just in skill, but in courage, and perhaps in heart. The game had begun, but neither of them knew how far it would go. The challenges were not just physical, they were emotional, mental, and dangerous. And deep inside, both Jason and Liara sensed that the outcome of this game might change everything, not just for them, but for the future of their worlds. The palace was quiet that evening, the twin suns casting long amber shadows across the crystal floors. Jason walked cautiously through the halls, alert to every sound. His training told him that peace was fragile, and in a world as powerful as Aeloria, danger could strike at any moment. Liara appeared suddenly, her golden hair shimmering as she moved with her usual grace. "You are always so serious, human," she said lightly, a teasing smile on her lips. "Do you not enjoy these halls? The gardens? The beauty around you?" Jason glanced at her but did not relax. "I appreciate the beauty," he said calmly, "but my duty comes first. I cannot ignore threats even in the midst of wonder." Her smile faltered slightly, a flicker of unease passing through her golden eyes. "Threats here? You worry too much." Before Jason could respond, the alarm bells rang, shattering the calm. Red lights flooded the corridors and the hum of energy shields filled the air. Liara's eyes widened in shock. What is happening?" Jason's hand went instinctively to the sidearm at his hip. "An attack," he said grimly. "Someone has breached the palace. Stay close to me." They moved through the corridors together, Jason leading with caution. Shadowy figures, cloaked in dark energy, lunged at them from the walls and ceilings. Liara gasped but did not falter, following Jason's lead as he fought with precision and skill. Each move he made was fluid, trained, and deadly, yet controlled enough to protect her. A blade of pure energy struck at her from the side, and Jason reacted in an instant. With a swift motion, he intercepted it, the weapon slicing through his armor and leaving a glowing scorch on his chest plate. Pain shot through him, but he did not flinch. His focus was entirely on keeping her safe. You saved me. Liara whispered, her voice trembling with shock and awe. Her usual arrogance had vanished, replaced by raw emotion she could not hide. Jason nodded, his chest rising and falling rapidly from the exertion. I protect those who cannot protect themselves, he said quietly, his voice steady despite the pain. It is my duty, Princess. The rogue attackers were relentless, but Jason's skill was unmatched. With careful precision, he disarmed, dodged, and neutralized each one, his human endurance surprising even the palace guards who had joined the defense. Liara watched in disbelief as the human warrior moved with grace and strength, a living shield between her and death. When the last attacker was subdued, the palace fell silent once more. Red lights faded, replaced by the soft glow of the crystal walls. Jason leaned against the wall for a moment, catching his breath. His armor was scorched and minor cuts streaked his skin, but his expression was calm and unwavering. Liara stood before him, her golden eyes glistening with tears she did not expect. I thought humans were fragile, she said softly. I thought you would break under pressure, but you are stronger than anyone I have ever met. Jason shook his head, a faint smile on his lips. Strength is not only about surviving battle, he said gently. It is about courage, heart, and the willingness to face fear for something you care about. I care about your people, and I care about you. For the first time, Liara felt her defenses crumble. The teasing, the taunts, the games, they all seemed small and meaningless in the face of his unwavering courage. She realized that the human she had mocked, challenged, and toyed with had a heart that rivaled the strongest Aelorian warriors. Her chest tightened, and for a moment, words failed her. She had spent centuries relying on pride, on control, on the certainty of power, and now, standing beside Jason, she felt something new, admiration, respect, and an unfamiliar stir of affection. Jason extended his hand to her, not as a warrior to a princess, but as a man to someone he had grown to trust and care for deeply. Come, he said softly. Let's make sure the rest of this palace is safe. Liara took his hand, a silent promise passing between them. In that moment, she realized that the games they had played were not just tests. They were the beginning of something far more profound. And somewhere deep inside, she knew that this human warrior, so different from her world, was changing hers forever. The palace had returned to its quiet elegance, the twin suns casting a soft golden glow over the crystal walls. Yet within the grand council hall, tension hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Princess Liara sat on her floating throne, her golden eyes clouded with confusion and wonder. She had spent centuries believing she understood power, control, and duty, but today all certainty seemed to crumble. Her mother, Queen Erilyn, entered the hall with her usual regal grace. The queen's presence commanded silence. Even the floating light seemed to dim in respect. She approached Liara slowly, her eyes gentle but firm, and spoke in a voice that carried both authority and warmth. You have tested him, the queen said, looking directly at her daughter. You laughed at him, challenged him, and even sought to break him. But he has endured everything you threw at him, Liara. Liara's lips parted, unsure how to respond. She had thought of Jason as a simple human, a curiosity, a distraction, someone to amuse her in her palace. She had never imagined that beneath his calm demeanor, beneath his modest appearance, there lay a courage so unwavering that even Aelorian warriors would envy it. Endured, she repeated softly. Her voice was barely audible, filled with disbelief. Mother, he is only human. How can he endure what we face here every day? Queen Erilyn's eyes softened, a knowing smile playing at her lips. It is precisely because he is human that he endures. Strength is not measured by species or power. Strength is measured by heart, by determination, and by the ability to stand for something greater than oneself. And that is why he belongs to you. Liara's heart skipped. She had expected many things, admiration perhaps, or even fear, but never this. Belongs God to me? She whispered, almost afraid to hear the words aloud. The queen's gaze was unwavering, filled with quiet authority. He is your husband, Liara. The bond between you is stronger than bloodlines, stronger than politics, stronger than pride. He is your equal, your protector, and your partner. You have fought side by side. He has proven himself time and time again. Now you must see it clearly. He is yours. Liara's mind spun. The laughter, the teasing, the games, they suddenly felt different. They were no longer just amusement. They were tests, lessons, and glimpses into a human heart that was brave, honest, and true. She realized that Jason had endured not because of duty alone, but because he genuinely cared for her people, and for the fragile hope of unity between their worlds. Tears welled in her eyes, golden and shimmering in the light of the council hall. I never expected this, she murmured. I thought I was in control. I thought I could see through everything. Yet I cannot see through him. He is unlike anyone I have ever met. Queen Arelyn stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder. That is because he is not like anyone else, Liara. And you, my daughter, are not like any other princess. Together you can achieve what neither of your worlds could alone. But you must choose not as a ruler commanding loyalty, but as a woman recognizing the heart of a man who stands beside you, unwavering. Liara's chest tightened. A flutter of emotion she had long buried deep inside rising to the surface. Pride, curiosity, admiration, and a growing warmth, an unfamiliar tenderness swirled within her. The human warrior she had once mocked, the one she had teased and challenged endlessly, was no longer just a visitor. He was someone who had changed her understanding of strength, courage, and even love. Her gaze drifted to the palace doors, imagining him waiting, patient and steady, outside the hall. The thought of him, so steadfast and strong, stirred something deep inside her, a recognition of a bond she had never expected to feel, yet now could not deny. Queen Arelyn smiled knowingly and stepped back, allowing silence to fill the hall. The choice was no longer dictated by duty or tradition. It was a matter of the heart. And in that moment, Liara realized that the games, the challenges, and the teasing had all led her to this truth. Jason Kane, the human warrior, was destined to be more than an ally. He was destined to be hers. Her golden eyes glimmered with resolve, curiosity, and a strange new vulnerability. The revelation had come, sudden and undeniable, and it would change everything, not just for her but for their worlds, and for the bond they were yet to fully understand. The floating gardens of the palace glimmered under the twin suns, their petals glowing with gentle light. Liara walked alone among the crystal paths, her thoughts spinning like the light reflections dancing around her. The queen's words from earlier still echoed in her mind. He is your husband. He is your equal. He belongs to you. Liara had spent days teasing Jason, pushing him, challenging him in every way she could imagine. She had laughed at his human ways, mocked his size, and tested his patience endlessly. And yet he had endured everything, not out of pride or obligation, but because he cared. Not just for the mission, not just for her people, but for her. Her chest tightened as she thought about the moment in the palace corridors when he had intercepted the rogue warrior's blade. Jason had taken the risk, the pain, the danger, all to protect her. No human she had ever known could do something so selfless, so unwavering. And yet he had done it quietly, without arrogance, without expectation. I don't understand, she whispered to herself, the wind brushing her golden hair across her face. How can someone so human be so strong? Jason's footsteps echoed softly behind her. She did not need to look to know he was there. His presence was calm and steady, like a heartbeat she could feel even without touch. Princess, he said gently, the gardens are beautiful at this time of day, but you seem troubled. Will you speak to me? Liara turned, meeting his dark, steady eyes. For a moment, words failed her. She had never been vulnerable, never admitted uncertainty or doubt, and yet standing before him she felt the walls she had built for centuries crumble. I don't know what to do, she admitted softly. I've spent my life testing strength, seeking control, never trusting anyone completely. And now you've shown me something I cannot ignore, something I cannot deny. Jason took a step closer, his expression gentle, not imposing. You don't have to deny it, princess. Feel what you feel. Accept it. That is the real strength, choosing honesty with yourself even when it scares you. Her golden eyes glistened with unshed tears. It scares me, she admitted, her voice trembling. I've never allowed myself to care for anyone. Not like this, and yet I can't stop thinking about you, about what you've done for me, about how you've endured my tests without bitterness or fear. Jason extended his hand, a simple gesture filled with trust and hope. Then let us face this together. he said quietly. Not as princess and warrior, not as Elorian and human, but as two beings who see each other for who we truly are. We can face the galaxy together, whatever comes. Liara hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. She had spent lifetimes relying on pride and control, yet here was a choice that demanded vulnerability, courage, and faith. Slowly, she reached out, placing her hand in his. The warmth of his human touch spread through her, melting away doubt and fear. I choose you, she whispered, her golden eyes meeting his, filled with resolve and emotion. I choose us. I choose to trust you, to stand with you, and to face whatever comes. Together. Jason smiled, a quiet, heartfelt smile that made the air between them feel lighter, safer. And I choose you. Liara, I will stand with you, protect you, and never falter, no matter the danger or the challenge. For a long moment, they simply stood there, hands clasped, hearts beating in quiet harmony. The gardens shimmered around them, the twin suns casting radiant light across the crystal paths. It was not just a choice, it was the beginning of something far greater, something neither had expected. Yet both now embraced fully. Liara felt a strength she had never known, a courage born not from pride or power, but from love and trust. She realized that this human warrior so different from her world had become her anchor, her equal and her partner, and in choosing him she had chosen not just a companion, but a future filled with hope, unity, and unbreakable bond. Jason squeezed her hand gently. The galaxy is vast, Liara, he said softly, but as long as we are together, nothing can stand against us. Liara nodded, a sense of calm and certainty settling over her. Together they would face everything, the challenges, the wars, and the unknown. Together they would forge a bond that could change the future of two worlds. And for the first time she smiled, without teasing, without pride, without fear. She smiled with her whole heart, because she had chosen him, and he had chosen her. The palace halls sparkled under the light of the twin suns, the crystal walls reflecting brilliant colors across the marble floors. But within those magnificent halls only two figures seemed to matter, Jason Kane and Princess Liara. Their hands were still clasped, their hearts beating in quiet harmony, and the weight of the Queen's words, the revelation of destiny, hung gently between them. Liara's golden eyes, once sharp with teasing and curiosity, now shone with resolve and vulnerability. She had made her choice, but making a choice was only the beginning. Acceptance, trust, and courage would define the bond she now shared with Jason. She took a deep breath, the cool air of the palace gardens mingling with the warmth of her own emotions. I was wrong about you, she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. I thought humans were weak. I thought you would break under pressure. But you are stronger than I could ever imagine. Stronger than any warrior I have met. Jason smiled, a quiet warmth spreading across his features. Strength is not about being unbroken, Princess. It is about rising when the world pushes you down. It is about facing fear and doing what must be done. And I choose to rise. For you, for your people, and for our future. Liara stepped closer, her hand still resting in his. The palace guards, the nobles, even the floating lights seemed to pause, sensing the quiet yet powerful energy between them. She felt her heart swell with emotions she could not name. Pride, trust, affection, and something far deeper. For the first time, she was no longer a princess observing a human. She was a woman embracing a partner, someone who had earned her respect, her admiration, and her heart. I trust you, she said finally, her golden eyes glimmering, not just because of duty, or because Mother said it, but because you've shown me who you are. Your courage, your patience, your heart. I trust you to stand with me no matter what comes. Jason's grip on her hand tightened gently, his dark eyes reflecting emotion and strength. Then let us face it together, he said. As equals, as partners, as something neither of us could have imagined. At that moment, Queen Erilyn entered the hall, her presence radiant and commanding. She looked at her daughter and Jason with quiet pride. So be it, she said softly, her voice carrying through the hall like music. Let it be known throughout the Empire and beyond that the human warrior and the Elorian princess are united. Together they will stand as equals, as protectors, and as symbols of hope for our worlds. Liara and Jason exchanged a glance, a smile spreading across both of their faces. The words were not just ceremonial, they were a promise, a recognition of their bond. and a declaration that nothing could break the connection they had forged. The palace erupted in celebration, but for them, it was a private moment. They walked together through the crystal gardens, their hands entwined, feeling the soft glow of the flowers and the gentle warmth of the setting suns. Liara rested her head lightly on Jason's shoulder, and for the first time in centuries, she allowed herself to be completely vulnerable, completely herself. "You've changed my world," she whispered softly. "I never imagined I could care like this, or that I could trust someone so completely." Jason kissed her forehead gently, a promise of loyalty and love. "And you've changed mine. You've shown me courage, wisdom, and a strength I never thought I would see. Together, we will face everything and nothing will stop us." The twin suns dipped lower, casting long shadows across the crystal paths, turning the gardens into a symphony of gold and light. Around them, the palace celebrated, but Jason and Liara were in their own world, united not by duty or obligation, but by choice, by respect, and by the bond they had forged through courage and understanding. They knew challenges would come. They knew enemies would arise. But as they walked side by side, hearts and hands joined, they realized something far greater than any battle or test. Together, they were unstoppable. They were a symbol, a human and an alien united by love, courage, and a destiny they had chosen for themselves. And in that quiet, radiant moment, Jason and Liara understood a truth that would guide them through the galaxy. They were partners, equals, and bound by a strength far greater than any force in the universe, because they had chosen each other. The twin suns rose slowly over the crystal city, spilling light across the towers and floating gardens, turning every surface into a dazzling display of gold and silver. The palace, which had once been a place of intrigue, games, and tests, now felt alive with hope. Jason Kane and Princess Liara stood side by side on a balcony, the warmth of sunlight reflecting off their armor and robes, their hands clasped firmly together. For centuries, Liara had relied on pride, cunning, and control. She had taunted, challenged, and tested Jason at every turn, yet he had endured. Not out of fear, not out of obligation, but because he had a heart strong enough to face anything. For her people, and for the fragile hope of peace between their worlds. And now, standing with him, she realized that strength was not only in power or pride, but in courage, trust, and love. "I never imagined a human could be like this," Liara whispered softly, her golden eyes glimmering with emotion. "I thought your people were weak, fragile, that you would crumble under pressure. But you've proven me wrong, time and again." Jason smiled gently, his dark eyes meeting hers. "Strength is not just muscle or weapons," he said calmly. "It is the courage to face fear, the patience to endure, and the choice to protect what matters. I choose to protect you. I choose to stand with you no matter what comes." She leaned slightly into him, the warmth of his presence grounding her in a way she had never felt before. I never expected to feel like this," she admitted. "I mocked you, I tested you, I thought you were nothing. And yet here I am, trusting you, depending on you, and perhaps loving you." Jason's hand rose gently to brush a lock of golden hair from her face. "Then let us face everything together," he said softly, yet with certainty. "As equals, as partners, as something greater than either of us imagined. Whatever the galaxy holds, we face it together." The city beyond the balcony was awakening. Citizens of Aeloria moved through the streets, humans and Aelorians alike, looking up at the palace. They could see the bond between the human warrior and the princess, the unity that symbolized something far greater than duty or politics. It was hope. Hope that two very different worlds could stand together. Hope that courage, respect, and love could overcome fear and division. Liara straightened, her golden eyes bright with newfound confidence. "Then let it be known," she declared, her voice carrying across the balcony, "that we are united. Not as ruler and subject, not as alien and human, but as equals. Together we will face the future, and nothing will stand in our way." Jason's grip on her hand tightened, a silent promise passing between them. The galaxy might be vast, dangerous, and uncertain, but together they were unbreakable. Together they could protect their people, explore the unknown, and build a future where differences were no longer a threat, but a source of strength. The twin suns climbed higher, bathing the palace in golden light. Liara rested her head on Jason's shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart and the unshakable strength of his presence. She felt safe, Not because the world was free of danger, but because she was no longer alone. "You've changed everything for me," she whispered, a gentle smile touching her lips. "I thought I had all the control, but now I see that some things are greater than power. Some things, like courage, trust, and love, can change worlds." Jason kissed her forehead softly, a promise sealed with quiet certainty. "And you've changed everything for me," he said. "You've shown me strength I could never have imagined and a hope I never thought I'd find. Together we can face anything. Together we are unstoppable." The crystal towers glimmered around them, reflecting 1,000